So with much more time on my hands, I found myself scrolling through eBay listing once again, and I came across this, a laptop for £64. So this was the laptop that I received. It is an Acer Aspire 5738G, which was released in the April of 2009. It boasts a Core2Duo T6600 clocked at 2.2 GHz, 4GB of DDR2 RAM, and even dedicated graphics in the form of the Radeon Mobility HD 4570, which has 512MB of memory. So yes, this would have been a pretty decent laptop when it was released, thanks to its pretty capable GPU. I booted the laptop up, and after a very long wait on the blank screen, I was brought to the Windows setup. Then I had to wait for Windows updates to install, and on this laptop it was the longest I've had to wait for Windows updates to install. It actually took that long that I started writing this script while it was installing. In the listing for the laptop, the owner said that they'd replace the battery and hard drive, which made it look like a better deal for the price. So I was surprised to see that he'd replaced it with a Western Digital Blue. It also does have a new battery, however it is loose and is pretty common for aftermarket batteries. I would always say go for a good replacement or aftermarket battery rather than a cheap Chinese one, as they're known to warp, catch fire, and even give you the capacity lower than what you ordered. The seller also wrote in the description the laptop had been updated to Windows 10 Pro, however this means there is no official compatible drivers for the HD 4570. After the laptop had finally finished installing the updates, I decided to try and find some compatible drivers for the 4570. So I tried to install the latest 13.4 manually without Catalyst, and this seemed to crash on Windows 10. It did this by downloading the latest driver that had Catalyst and just extracted the exe file with 7-zip. Then they selected the drive folder in the device manager and selected the file from the list manually, and the drivers did install. So now everything's set up, let's see how this little laptop performs. For general web browsing, this thing is great for the job. It can play 1080p 60fps YouTube videos with next to no stuttering. If you have a machine like this and it seems to buffer while playing YouTube videos, I would always suggest using the H.264 Chrome plugin if you're using Chrome, as it seems to help with YouTube playback on older systems like this, just because it makes it more easier for the computer to handle if it doesn't have as much power. Other web browsing was also great, as I could visit most of my normal sites with little to no slowdown. Sites with a lot of graphics seem to load in a little slow at times, as you saw just now when it was loading up the original YouTube homepage. But apart from that, YouTube was fine, as well as you can see, skipping through the video also didn't seem to make it. You weren't waiting too long for it to load, basically. Other sites as well with a lot of graphics seemed a little slow as well. Like sites I use like Footbin and Twitch, but this is probably due to the processor, as it's only a dual core and it takes a lot of time for it to render, so it's using both those cores. I think with something with a quad core you wouldn't see this as much, or it wouldn't be as much as a slowdown, it wouldn't be as noticeable. But as you can see, it does take a little bit load for the high graphical images to load. We did have it connected to an Ethernet cable as well, so it wasn't to do with internet speed either. But it's not bad for a laptop that only costs £64. Twitch also ran well, so if you want to use this laptop for Twitch consumption, it's great. But again, with the home screen thing, it did load up a little slow due to it only having 2 cores. So yeah, if you want to watch it with Twitch is great. We also did try file transfer as well, so if you've got an external hard drive USB, just to see how quick this was. And for day-to-day use, it's great. You can move files quite quickly. It's not going to beat a brand new gaming PC or an NVMe hard drive or anything, but yeah, it's definitely good for day-to-day general usage. Just to get you by, this thing does the job. I also decided to test out Discord on this machine, and it is quite popular and is used quite a bit. As you can see on the screen, Discord ran quite well. You could send messages, you could open files quite quickly. There was no like slowdown or anything, mainly just when you're loading images, but again that's probably just down to the dual core processor, as we've seen in the web browsing just as well. But for general usage, this worked on Discord pretty well. So if you want to use Discord on this laptop, there you go, it works quite well. This is our Discord server as well, so if you want to join our Discord server, the link will be in the description down below. You don't have to, and I'm sorry like I'm plugging it in, but this is our Discord server, so if you want to join, it is in the description down below. But as you can see, it ran pretty well, and it opened up all our rooms and stuff, and yeah, it worked well. So if you want to play Discord on something like this, you can. But you guys didn't come here to see file transfers and me running Discord and all this. So let's get to the gaming benchmarks. So the first game that I decided to try out was Codemasters Dirt 3. As this is an older game and usually runs great on older systems due to its DirectX 10 compatibility. I've used this in the past as well, and you can see the settings on the screen that I used, and this usually works well with older hardware. I ran the game with the 720p resolution with the low preset selected, which got us an average of 22 FPS and a low of 11 FPS. I did try to run the benchmark again, which you can see on the screen now, with the ultra low preset, but it decided to overheat and shut off at the end of this benchmark that you can see on screen. However, you probably get 30 FPS at a low resolution and the lowest preset, providing that the laptop doesn't overheat and shut off like it did to me. For some reason today as well, MSI Afterburner will not benchmark any of the games for some reason, as I kept getting this error that said that it could not hook key components, which is probably a hardware limitation given the age of the laptop. But I managed to get the GPU usage and CPU usage working and frame times, but as soon as I went into a game, the frame times decided to go off after like 10 seconds for some reason. Something to do with a hardware limitation in MSI Afterburner. MSI Afterburner does have a few problems with all the hardware, so I'm guessing that's what it was. In Sonic Mania, I was able to get frame times due to an off-camera play, there we go, which the overlay was working for a bit, which I saw an average of 55 FPS, a 1% low of 5 FPS, and a 0.7% low of 4 FPS. Could not get my words out there. On the highest settings with the laptop's native resolution as well, which is pretty good going. Which isn't too bad again for a laptop that only cost me £64. This game usually runs well on DirectX 10 cards. I've used it in the past, and all my future DirectX 10 tests I will try and run this game, as it does seem to fare pretty well, and I'd like to see how it does on other DirectX 10 cards as well, either be laptop or desktop. But I just needed any reason to play this game, because I just like playing Sonic games too much, okay? Just don't judge me, but yeah, any reason to play this game, I had to do it. This game, even on the mode where you collect the gems and stuff, also didn't seem to drop anything either. I didn't get the frame times for this because the first level that I played, I didn't go onto this. But yeah, it seems to run pretty well, and I couldn't see any stutters or anything. It actually seemed to be less demanding somehow on the hardware, so worked that one out. But yeah, it seemed to run pretty well overall. So as I said again, Sonic Mania will work well on this laptop, and it didn't overheat, which is a plus. Then we tried some more demanding games. So we tried CSGO with the low settings and shadows set to high, because that's what everybody else runs it, I've heard, and that's what I usually run it on in my tests, just so everybody knows round about where I'm testing it. I don't know what the frame rates were again because of MSI Afterburner playing up. I really couldn't tell you because I couldn't get it to work. Again, somewhat to do with the laptop and its hardware limitations. When not much was going on, we saw around 30 FPS, but as soon as a bot appeared in the view of the frame, the frame rate would just tank to 20 FPS or below. There was also a massive input delay, as you can see. I'm moving the mouse and it's just like stuttering. It's not actually the game stuttering, just the mouse input was stuttering, but it's not running at a very high frame rate, as you'll be able to see now as well. There was also that problem. There was lots of problems, okay, lots and lots of problems. But yeah, I'd call this unplayable on this laptop. Yeah, if you're a massive CS:GO player, yeah, don't play it on this laptop. Just don't do it, okay? Yeah, don't do it. It's not a great experience if you want to play CS:GO on a laptop. So, to conclude, should you go out and buy a laptop like this for gaming? God, no. For the price, this little laptop isn't bad for general use like web browsing, Word documents and video consumption. Gaming is not something it's good at due to its age. It probably run better with some older games like Oblivion or the original Skyrim, but for the same price you could get yourself a cheap Socket 775 system which can support a much more capable graphics card. I hope you guys have enjoyed looking at this 2009 and now £64 laptop and how it performs in 2020, and I'll see you all in the next one.